The 2-minute message preview at the non-denominational New Hope Olympia this week is, what is the false about the turmoil in the Middle East? Part 2. It ain't over till it's over. Do you know who said that? Yogi Berra. That line makes sense. But most of the things he said make you scratch your head. Yogi was known as the master of confusion and doublespeak, having said things like, "This is like déjà vu all over again." You can observe a lot just by watching. You've got to be very careful if you don't know where you're going because you might not get there. I knew I would take the wrong train, so I left early. Baseball is 90% mental, the other half is physical. A nickel isn't worth a dime today. It was impossible to get a conversation going, everybody was talking too much. If you come to a fork in the road, take it. If the fans don't come out to the park, you can't stop them. If it ain't the heat, it's the humility. It would be best to go to other people's funerals, otherwise, they won't come to yours. I didn't say everything I said. Yogi was not the only person to get confused. This world can be confusing. Here are some observations demonstrating the confusion of our current culture and political climate where you have to scratch your head. If you can get arrested for hunting or fishing without a license but not for being in the country illegally, you might live in a country founded by geniuses. Well, you have to scratch your head. If the only school curriculum allowed to explain how we got here is evolution, but the government stops a $15 million construction project to keep a rare spider from evolving to extinction, you might live in a country founded by geniuses. Well, you have to scratch your head. If hard work and success are met with higher taxes and more government intrusion, while not working is rewarded with government checks, subsidized housing, and free cell phones, you might live in a country founded by geniuses. Well, you have to scratch your head. If the government's plan for getting people back to work is to incentivize not working with 99 weeks of unemployment checks and no requirement to prove they applied but can't find work, you might live in a country founded by geniuses. Well, you have to scratch your head. If, in the largest city, you can buy 2 16-ounce sodas but not a 24-ounce soda because 24 ounces of a sugary drink might make you fat, you might live in a country founded by geniuses, but you have to scratch your head. If an 80-year-old woman can be stripped and searched by the TSA, but a woman in a hijab is only subject to having her neck and head searched, you might live in a country founded by geniuses, but you have to scratch your head. If your government believes that the best way to eradicate trillions of dollars of debt is to spend trillions more, you might live in a country founded by geniuses, but you have to scratch your head. If you have to show identification to board an airplane, cash a check, buy liquor, or check out a library book, but not to vote for who runs the government, you might live in a country founded by geniuses, but you have to scratch your head. If being stripped of the ability to defend yourself makes you safer, according to the government, you might live in a country founded by geniuses, but you have to scratch your head. Such actions are very confusing. When you consider the moral underpinnings of our country's founding and the biblical basis for the laws that govern this land, we can only shake our heads at the kinds of legal and moral decisions we in authority make today. The administration in Washington, D.C., continues to put policies in place that are very confusing. A while back, there was an order that military chaplains were not allowed to pray in the name of Jesus. And soldiers in the U.S. military were told in a training briefing that evangelical Christians are the #1 extremist threat to America, ahead of groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, KKK, Nation of Islam, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and others. That briefing, given to an Army Reserve unit in Pennsylvania, came from a U.S. Army Reserve Equal Opportunity training brief titled Extremism and Extremist Organizations. Our government is supporting Israel while at the same time, we are giving billions of dollars to Iran, which is funding Hamas. It makes you want to scratch your head. There is a lot of confusion in our troubled world today, especially when it comes to the war that is going on now in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. In his weekend message, Pastor Dell will clear up the confusion by exposing some things about this war that are not true, they are false.